Hi, Allison here, and today on the Oh So Sensitive channel, we are talking about yellow juice, specifically yellow juice perfumes. So here's a quick picture of the perfumes I'm going to be talking about. Okay, so the reason I want to talk about perfumes from the perspective of the color of the juice. I feel like a lot of us, when we see perfume, as far as the packaging, the presentation, we do judge a book by its cover. And particularly when we see a certain color in the juice, we make assumptions about what the perfume will be like. And it even affects how we respond to the perfume, in my opinion. I know this because I have some B-layered perfumes. And B-layered, in order to make it easier for them to price their perfumes for a reasonable price, the packaging is the same across the board. Very minimalistic. The juice is usually clear, non-colored. If it's not clear or non-colored, then it's kind of like ambery or yellowish, but it's really because of the color of the oils, the fragrance oils. And basically, because all of the packaging looks the same, it does affect how I respond to the juice. I know if it was in that fancy schmancy packaging, I would have a different response. For example, their version of Good Girl by Carolina Herrera isn't in that deep, dark, smoky, high heel bottle. That does affect how I respond to the juice. So let's talk about my yellow juices in my collection. Basically, what my thoughts are on them, and you can tell me if you agree and if you would have assumed those same thoughts just from looking at the juice and or the packaging. So if you're interested, stay tuned. If you like my channel and you haven't subscribed yet, then please go ahead, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be reminded each time I upload a new video. And since most of us are on lockdown, why not upload videos more often? Like, I have the space to record every day, so I'm gonna try to up my game. Hope you guys join me while I up my game. Alrighty. So first up we have Because It's You by Giorgio Armani. It's from their Emporio Armani line, which is basically the less expensive line. I think the Giorgio line is more expensive, and then the Armani Privé, of course, is supposed to be niche level perfumery, so it's definitely expensive. But basically, this perfume is a confusing scent because the color of it gives you the sense that it's going to be kind of like a light summery smell or a springy smell, but that's not really true. This reminds me of Tresor Midnight Rose, but more fruity than Tresor Midnight Rose is, but you can definitely smell the woodiness in here. So when you smell the woodiness in here, it can be confusing because that makes you think of this as more of a winter perfume, but the fruitiness makes you feel like it should be a summer perfume. So I wear this in basically all the seasons, but I more frequently wear it in the summer or in warmer weather because the raspberry in this really comes through, and when I smell raspberry, I just feel like I'm supposed to be wearing it in warm weather. But even then, I can still smell the woodiness that makes it feel kind of heavy, so it's a bit confusing. But I push through because when I wear this, I get a lot of compliments. This one has strong sillage, strong lasting power, sticks to your clothes, it sticks to your skin, even though your nose will go anosmic to it. There's a point where I don't smell it anymore, but other people are still complimenting me on it throughout the day. But this one gets a lot of compliments, particularly from men, but women like it too. And again, this is kind of a raspberry woody perfume, so it doesn't really look like the juice makes you think it's gonna smell. The juice makes you think of something that's more golden, summery. Nope, this is fruity and woody. And again, this is Because It's You by Giorgio Armani. Next up we have Beautiful Belle by Estee Lauder. This one is basically a candied tuberose smell. So it doesn't quite fit the juice color either. The juice color, again, I think of something that's kind of golden, summery, or springy. This one, honestly, I've worn this more often in the winter time. It has tuberose in it, and the tuberose in this is pretty strong. And then the marzipan, which is almond candy, is pretty strong also. It reminds me of Gucci Bloom. And Gucci Bloom, I think people wear that in winter and in warmer weather. But Gucci Bloom, I tend to, I guess, prefer it in the winter because the sillage initially is very strong. And the sillage on this is very strong. But it works better than Gucci Bloom for warm weather because of that marzipan. The marzipan or almond candy note in here lightens it up without necessarily lightening the sillage. When I wear this, I would layer it with the body cream, and it really does take over the room when I wear it. My nose does go blind to it eventually, but people have told me that the whole room smells like me whenever I've worn this, and it gets compliments. The first time I tested this out, when I had the sample, some of the guys who smelled it on me were in love with this scent. They wanted me to get this over Coco Mademoiselle Intense because I was going back and forth between this and Coco Mademoiselle Intense by Chanel, which I eventually got later. But the guys who smelled this on me were like, no, get this one instead. Don't get that other one. So this one smells closer to a representation of what the golden juice makes you think it would smell like. But it's still not quite there. It's still very much a scent that can kind of hold its own in the winter, so it feels like it could be a winter perfume. So this is DKNY Nectar Love. This one smells summer fresh. It's very fresh and honeyed smelling. I layer this on top of Sylvain Delacour's Lily Lane. When I layer it on top of that, the sillage is crazy. Even when I wear it by itself, it still has a decent sillage. So this one smells like shower gel, basically. It smells like you're fresh out of the shower and that you probably showered with something by Garnier Fructis, or you use Garnier Fructis hair conditioner in your hair. It smells like a shower fresh honey scent. And the lasting power, I'd say, is about 4 hours. I have a small enough bottle to where I could carry it with me. So this one does fit the juice color because it's very honeyed. It's the color of honey, and it kind of has the smell of honey. Besides the honey, it has like some fruitiness and maybe some florality, but the honey really comes through. It also has beeswax in it. So I think the beeswax is what gives it kind of some depth when you smell it, because it does have a little bit of depth. But when I first smelled this, all I could smell was the honey. But after a few wears, I did start to smell the beeswax. So it has a semi-deep, honeyed, kind of waxy smell. Next up, we have Idylle or Idylle by Guerlain. And of everything that you see on the table in this video, this is my least favorite. I finally have my first Guerlain. This was gifted to me by a subscriber, and it doesn't really work for me. It's the smell just feels all over the place. Like they have a lot going on. The combination of the fragrance notes for me is just too much. When I smell this, it is sweet and thick, almost sickeningly thick. It makes me think of a syrup or dessert that gives me a headache, basically. I tend to not have much of a sweet tooth. I like my desserts to be rather simple, not too much going on. Like if I went to Cheesecake Factory, I'd just get a regular cheesecake with strawberries on top. I wouldn't get anything like a snickerdoodle or a turtle's topping. That's just too much. This smells like too much, basically. I just think I feel like the Guerlain that I would purchase would be terracotta red, that is similar to Kahai by The Body Shop, and I love Kahai White Flora by The Body Shop. And so if terracotta really smells like that, then terracotta is more likely to be the Guerlain that I like. But this one is just too dense and thick, and the juice is golden instead of yellow, so maybe it kind of fits the juice color because the juice is really more amber than yellow. So yeah, as far as the juice being amber and amber being more of a thick resinous smell, I guess it does fit the juice color. So next up, we have a perfume by Hermes. This is 24 Faubourg Eau de Toilette from Hermes Paris. And this is very aldehydic, especially when you first spray it. Ugh, my nails look horrible, sorry. But basically this smells very mature. maybe for some people even outdated. I enjoy wearing this because yes, when I first spray it, it's very aldehydic smelling, very mature smelling, what some would think of as a motherly or grandmotherly scent. But as that aldehydic smell, the aldehydic opening calms down, it's very soft, close to the skin, and it reminds me a bit of Poem by Lancome, and it just smells kind of sweet and a bit creamy and close to the skin. It lasts all day, but it lasts very close to the skin, and it's probably because it's the Eau de Toilette formulation. This is not one that I wear every day, and it's not an easy reach. I have to be in the mood for it, but when I wear it, I enjoy wearing it. The color of this one is more ambery instead of golden or yellow, so the juice color does fit this one because this one also smells like it's basically more deep. It feels like it has some depth to it, so it matches the depth of color for this one. So next up we have Levine For Her. This one has a very golden, ambery smell, which fits in with the fact that this one smells like saffron, sandalwood, and marigold. It is a bit powdery. You really smell the sandalwood in here. You definitely smell the saffron and the marigold. So it's spicy and powdery, a little sweet, but it's not sweet as in a gourmand. It just feels like the flowers and the petals that come inside of here are naturally sweet. This one is very unique smelling, and I don't think you'll get compliments if you wear this. People will notice it, but they probably won't compliment it. But if you start wearing this every day, this will become a signature scent because it's going to stand out. People will start thinking of you when they smell this because it's just very unique and different from my experience or in comparison to my collection. This one is just, it's spicy in a different way. Usually my spicy perfumes that people compliment is spicy because of something like pink pepper, or the peppery smell is mixed with like something gourmandish, so that it's kind of like a spicy gourmand smell, or spicy as in cinnamon. Cinnamon is not always well received, but the people who have smelled cinnamon type perfumes on me, some of them have complimented me greatly. The people who compliment me, they compliment me greatly with the cinnamon scent. This one isn't cinnamon. This one isn't a peppery sweet smell. It's just spicy, like it makes you think of seasoned food, but not so seasoned that you think of actual savory. It doesn't make you think of savory spices completely. You kind of do because of the saffron, but it's not like when you smell this you think someone is cooking, but it kind of triggers that part of your brain that remembers the smell of savory food, and I think that's why it can be a bit confusing when you smell it, and I feel like that's also why it won't get compliments. So this is Vintage Bloom by Jessica Simpson, and this completely smells like the color of the juice. This has peony, citruses. Those are the main two things I remember, peony and citrus. It is floral, citrusy, and fresh. It's also very light. It can also trigger allergies because I assume that the floral essence or floral oils in here are authentic, because whenever I've worn this around people who are sensitive when it comes to allergies, they get to sneezing around me. This one I initially didn't like. I only bought it because of the name. I had just bought Gucci. Well, I had just received Gucci Bloom from my sister. And so I saw this like, oh, Vintage Bloom instead of Gucci Bloom. So I bought it because of the name. I like the bottle. I actually really love the bottle. I think it's really pretty to sit on your vanity. But when I was comparing it to Gucci Bloom, I didn't like it so much. But eventually over time, the more I wore it, the more I really enjoyed this. I just don't wear it as much because it does trigger allergy or allergic reactions in people that I know. The other thing is that this layers really well with Marc Jacobs Daisy Dream. If you have ever smelled Marc Jacobs Daisy Dream and you react to it the way I do, you end up feeling like this smells like nothing. I have this expensive bottle of nothing smelling juice, but when you layer it with Vintage Bloom, the two work really well together. It's not like when you layer with Vintage Bloom, all you smell is Vintage Bloom. Something in Vintage Bloom makes Marc Jacobs Daisy Dream pop more. So it's not enough to the point where I would necessarily tell you to rush out and buy these two. But if you own one, then I say go ahead and try to get the other. If you already own Daisy Dream and you've been kind of disappointed by it, see if you can find Vintage Bloom by Jessica Simpson and layer the two together. And if you own Vintage Bloom and you happen to cross a good deal for Marc Jacobs Daisy Dream, then go ahead and get it. My feelings on Marc Jacobs Daisy Dream are such that I wouldn't even really tell you to just go out looking for it. But if you find it for a good price, and you have Vintage Bloom, or you know you're going to be able to get Vintage Bloom, then these two work really well together. So here we have J'adore by Christian Dior, one of my favorite perfumes in my collection. The juice color on this is a very pale yellow, almost to the point of it being just clear. This smells like golden, melony, rich sunshine, but not tropical sunshine, not vacation sunshine. This smells like the sunshine that must shine on a rich woman. This smells rich to me. It smells like a rich woman to me. It smells mature only because it's been around for a long time, and the formulation that they sell now isn't nearly as beautiful as the original formulation. The original formulation was much better. Like the sillage and the lasting power were just amazing. Now the sillage and lasting power is basically pretty good for today's standards. Perfume has been dumbed down in recent years. I can admit that as someone who collects and still likes to buy perfume. But the art of perfumery has been dumbed down. So this has fallen victim to that trend of dumbing down formulations. And honestly, when something's out for a very long time, they just eventually dumb down the formulation because they know that it's still going to sell just off of loyalty to the brand, to the memory, to the nostalgia. I got this because of nostalgia. I remember a lady at my church, she always smelled like this, so I assumed this is what she wore. And I always thought of her as like a pretty and sophisticated lady, so that just makes me think fondly of this perfume. So even though it doesn't smell nearly as beautiful as it used to smell, I still like it because of nostalgia. So they're kind of right. People still buy this because of nostalgia. And it's much better than Gabrielle Essence by Chanel, and that's a newer formulation. So in its own way, it's still pretty good compared to some other things. So yeah, I still love this. I still like having it in my collection, and I will probably keep it in my collection. This is Sunflowers by Elizabeth Arden. This smells kind of strong to be an eau de toilette. This is citruses, flowers. It smells super citrusy basically. And it says sunflowers. It smells like a floral citrus mix. And whenever I wear this, the sillage is actually pretty intense, but the lasting power is about 4 hours. It isn't eau de toilette. Of the eau de toilettes I've experienced from Elizabeth Arden, this is probably in the top 2 as far as sillage and lasting power. Number 1 is Always Red Femme by Elizabeth Arden, and that one is just amazing. Like, even though that one's number 1 and this one's number 2, it knocks this one out of the park as far as performance goes. But this one, from my experience, what I've smelled, is in number 2. The sillage is really powerful. The lasting power is pretty decent, 4 hours. The crazy thing about this is it gets too strong in cold temperatures. I've worn this in the summer while working in buildings that are really cold, buildings where, you know, they amp up the air because it's hot outside. This almost makes me sick in really cold temperatures. I like it better when it's warm outside. So this wears better in warm temperatures for me. The juice on this one is actually quite dark, almost on the border of being amber colored, but it's more like a dark yellow color. And the packaging for the box is yellow as well. So I feel like this one definitely fits the juice color because it's called Sunflowers. It smells like sunflowers, and the juice looks like the juice of a sunflower. Last but not least is Sun di Gioia by Giorgio Armani. This one smells thick but sunshiny, and it's super confusing. It's been discontinued, and I feel like it's been discontinued because of how confusing it smells. It has a coconutty, thick, creamy, beachy, tropical smell to it, but the thickness in here is very thick. Like the sillage is crazy, and it's this one smells so thick, you almost get kind of like a sickly feeling, like a sweet tooth feeling. Like, again, I've said that I'm the type of person when it comes to my actual desserts, I don't like them too sweet. This one isn't too sweet, but it's so thick that it feels too sweet. But whenever I wear this, which I've had it for 2 years and I've used up that much, so there's been some periods where I've worn this a lot. But whenever I wear this, I get a lot of compliments. This one smells like you should be wearing it with a yellow sundress. But again, it's so thick and creamy and heavy that you almost feel bad for wearing it in the summertime, because the heat is just going to make the performance or the sillage be even stronger. But other people seem to not mind it. Whenever I've worn this, other people have complimented me greatly on the smell. But I don't wear it a lot because I still get confused by it. Like in the winter, it's really good at fighting through the winter air because of the performance. But it smells like summertime, so it's confusing because you're like, well, it's cold out here, but somebody smells like sunshine and coconuts. Even though I don't think coconuts is even listed in here. But this one is like a catch-22 for me. I love it, but I'm annoyed by it at the same time. Okay, so that concludes my collection of yellow juice perfume. I hope you enjoyed this video and my commentary, and if you did, then go ahead and hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, after spending this much time with me, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Alrighty, thanks for watching.